What's up, everybody? Marvel Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. Today we are looking at X-Men issue number 5. This issue came out in May of 1963, and today we are seeing the return of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. It's the second appearance of Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Mastermind, and Toad, and the third overall appearance of Magneto. And we see on the cover today that Angel has been trapped by the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and so the X-Men are going to have to act alone, as we learned from last issue that Professor Xavier lost his mental powers, and so the X-Men are on their own. Today's title is Trapped, One X-Men, and that X-Men is Angel, and we see the return of the evil mutants. This issue is brought to you by Stan Lee, who wrote this issue. We have the drawings by Jack Kirby, inking by Paul Raymond, and the lettering page by Sam Rosen here. And so we pick up the issue here right off where we left off last issue. We see that the X-Men are returning to the X-Mansion, and they feel down in the dumps because Professor Xavier has lost his powers. And so the X-Men are now going to have to figure out how to, cope without Professor Xavier with his aid. And so we see here that while the X-Men are all just collecting their thoughts and wondering how they're going to function as a team without having a leader, they realize that a car is pulling up in the driveway and it just so happens to be Marvel Girl's parents. And so they all rush to go get changed into their civilian identities here. And so we see here that they quickly change back to their civilian identities to welcome Jean Grey's parents. Now, one thing we need to understand about Jean Grey's parents and all of these guys' parents is that they don't know that these people are X-Men. They don't know that Charles Xavier actually runs a school for gifted youngsters who are mutants. They just think this is a big private university, like a big private school. And we see here that Jean Grey's mom almost takes off Cyclops' glasses, and Cyclops starts to panic here. We see that Beast then changes the subject here, and so we see that the X-Men are going to allow Jean Grey's parents to go on this tour here. We see that they go into the danger room here, which they call the gymnasium. All of a sudden, they close the door, leaving Cyclops left inside of the danger room. So now Cyclops is going to have to figure out how to survive this training scenario. It was set up for the Beast here. And so we see that Cyclops uses his energy beams here to basically survive this danger room scenario, and he escapes with just, the skin of his teeth here. And we see that this was soundproofed, so Jean's parents did not hear a single thing. We see that Jean Grey's parents then drive off, and they are just thinking how great of a school it is, and they're so proud of their daughter. We see this figure in the background, and we come to find out that this figure is none other than the Mastermind. So the Mastermind is in communication with Magneto, and we see here that he is still trying to figure out where the X-Men are at. If he would have just waited a few seconds longer, he would have realized that that was Jean Grey's parents, Marvel Girl's parents, but he doesn't know who Marvel Girl is. And so we see here that he's in communication with Magneto, and we see that this jet that is controlled by magnetic energy comes to pick up Mastermind, and we see that Quicksilver is the one controlling the plane. He's flying it, and we see this is the first appearance of Magneto's hideout here. It's called Asteroid M. We see that he has this entire compound right on top of this asteroid. It's unbelievable, but we see just what lengths that Magneto will go to stop humans and enslave humans. So we see here that Mastermind returns back to the team here of evil mutants. We see that one person in particular gets on the nerves of pretty much everybody of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and that is Toad. Toad is like the loyal subject of Magneto, but we see here that he will never lose his loyalty to Magneto, and Magneto is, like we said from last issue, and we also saw in issue number 1, very ruthless, very aggressive. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. And so we see here that he is now going to come up with a new plan, and this time it's going to involve Toad here. And so we see once again there's a lot of confrontation between, or controversy between, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch with Magneto. They don't trust him, but they have to serve him because Magneto saved Scarlet Witch's life, as we recall from last issue. So we see here what exactly is Magneto going to be up to and what's his plan with Toad here. We see the next day Cyclops is reading some stuff. We see that Bobby Drake comes on by wanting to ask him if he wants to watch this track meet on TV. Cyclops gets frustrated. He has no time for that. And he's still trying to figure out how he can lead the team without Professor Xavier. So they're all watching this TV program, and all of a sudden, while they're watching this big track race and people are running, we see that there's a particular person and he is hopping over his competition like a toad. And so that's interesting here. And what's interesting is that the X-Men do not realize that this is in fact Toad here that is competing in this track meet. And so we see that instantly the crowd is starting to panic and they're starting to throw things at this mutant here. And so we see that the X-Men starts to go on the defense of this mutant, saying, we got to go help this guy. So they then go where the event is taking place, and they save this guy from this coming riot here. And so we see that Beast and Iceman and Angel, they all try to block the crowds from attacking this mutant here. And we see that they then soon run away helping this guy. They get on this, it looks like this train here or bus. They're all on this bus here, and they come to, like, Beast is starting to speculate, this guy looks familiar. He sounds familiar. They take off the mask, and it just so happens to be the Toad here. So then the Toad has been caught. He then escapes the train. The X-Men are trying their best to get the Toad from attacking the people as they're trying to stop them. And so all of a sudden we see a bunch of metal objects come near Angel here and other X-Men, and it's being controlled by none other than Magneto here. And so now we got a full-on scale battle between the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants right in front of a bunch of crowd, this big old crowd here. And so that's going to be crazy. So we see that a lot of things are going on, a lot of great illustrations drawn by Jack Kirby. Once again, we see that Magneto is successful in kidnapping Angel, and so Angel is going to be the one where he's going to be taken back to Asteroid M. We see here that Mastermind uses one of his illusions here, causing the X-Men to lose their distance here as the crowd starts to panic as they see an oncoming Rhino here. And so while the X-Men are trying to keep up, we see that the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, they are successful in getting away, and they're going to return back to Asteroid M with the Angel. And so that's going to be something. They see that there's going to be an interrogating process going on under right here as we see that Magneto tries his best to get some information out of the Angel, but it doesn't work here. We see that Toad was left behind, and Toad is going to be the one that leads the X-Men back to the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants as he keeps talking to himself, saying he has to return back to Magneto. He has to return. So he pretty much lowers his sock here, pushes a button, causing another capsule to come. The X-Men join the Toad into this capsule, and this is where they're going to come and save the Angel here. And so they're shocked to see that Toad arrives on the scene, and we see that the X-Men are going to then take down the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and try to save the Angel. And so Magneto knows all about it, and he's going to try his best to use the entire facility that's on Asteroid M to his advantage. It's going to be like a death trap. He uses a bunch of magnetic objects here to try to suffocate the X-Men, like with Cyclops and with Marvel Girl here. We see that one thing we got to really see with this whole issue is that the X-Men are using their abilities and they're teaming up together and using everything that they've learned in the past year to basically survive on their own without Professor Xavier. And for the most part, it looks like they are successful. We then see that Magneto is going to try to use this system here, or this switch, to basically use a it's like it'll basically cause the X-Men to fall out into outer space. And we see that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are not going to allow that to happen here. And so there's more controversy between the two, a lot of disunity here. We see that then the X-Men are going to come right into the room where Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and Magneto are at. And so we're going to see the final confrontation. We see that Angel is still being held hostage here. We're going to see that with the teamwork of the X-Men, that they're going to break Angel free of his basically being held hostage here. And we've learned right from the get-go that the X-Men are becoming more and more mature here. They're learning that they can get through the illusions of Mastermind, and they're learning right off the bat that they can go toe-to-toe with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants if they have enough confidence here. And we see here that everything that Magneto is throwing at the X-Men is just not working. And so as we conclude this issue, the X-Men are able to return back to Earth, while we see that Magneto and his Brotherhood of Evil Mutants were not successful in defeating the X-Men or learning where the X-Men are hiding out with they're at the X Mansion. Magneto still does not know a single thing about where the X-Men are using their headquarters. And so we see that this capsule then returns back to Asteroid M to save Magneto and his teammates here, while the X-Men look above. They return back to the X Mansion after having defeated the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and they learn, surprisingly, that Professor Xavier didn't lose his powers after all. That, in fact, he had been testing them this entire time, and it was their final exam, and they passed with flying colors. And so they have pretty much been successful in their training period, and their training period is over. And so that was a big shock there. And I wasn't really shocked, to be honest with you. I knew Professor Xavier had to be lying, but it was cool nonetheless. I hope you like this issue. It was a pretty cool, action-packed story, I have to say. And so we'll be looking at issue number 6 next. But before we look at that, go ahead and give this video a like. Comment down below what you liked about this issue. Subscribe if you have not, and I will see y'all in the next one.